Hey, this is Adam Post, creator of College of the Dead, publisher of College of the Dead, publisher of more than 1,000 comic books, former board member, executive board member on the board of directors for Platinum Studios Inc., an entertainment company that makes comics and turns them into films. And this is an interesting rumor we're talking about today. So there's a rumor, and here's the business deal. Is it a good business deal? Disney wants to buy Spider-Man outright from Sony for $4+ billion, maybe $4 to $5 billion. This is coming from Bounding Into Comics, which is a comic industry website, and they do print rumors. This is not like a big public guaranteed information, but is it a good business deal? So let's talk about this. So the rumor is that Disney wants to buy Spider-Man outright from Sony, lock, stock, and barrel, all movie rights, for more than $4 billion. It's coming from a Facebook group. So that's not like actually the best place for stock tips, but sometimes you never know. You know, things do get talked about. People float ideas around and people kind of see what, you know, may or may not happen. That it's a good way to get information. So, well, but, you know, don't bet your house on it, but it's information. So look, as it says, while rumors have circulated before that Sony-Disney dispute of such a purchase, it was merely speculation, especially the erroneous high number that was quoted. What I'm hearing is that Disney is looking to offer in the range of $4 to $5 billion for Spider-Man. Sutton does note that he's getting only Disney's side of the story. It's unclear what Sony thinks about selling Spider-Man. However, he believes Sony will be willing to sell for the right price. As Sutton says here, in fact, I'm only getting one side of the story here. Disney's, I don't know how Sony feels about this, but my spidey sense is signaling as Sony is willing to sell the Masters of the Universe film rights to Netflix. It's all about finding the magic number. As they say, everything has a price. Well, it's true, everything has a price. It just depends on what business you're in, though, because, you know, if you're in the business of making movies and having franchises and being able to attract other projects and talent, potentially other comic book movies, other projects, and spinning out and developing the universe of Spider-Man characters, because Spider-Man has Venom, they have Sinister Six, they have a bunch of other things they're working on. Morbius, Legend of the Living Vampire, another Marvel property that is from the Spider-Man universe that Sony controls. That alone could make them another fortune. I mean, Venom made them $1 billion, so not profit, but at the box office, it's still a hell of a lot of profit. So a recent report in Hollywood Reporter notes that Sony studio chairman Tom Rothman is exploring the prospect of getting risk-free cash for the pricey Masters of the Universe, by making it for Netflix instead. And Kim Masters from the Hollywood Reporter adds, a studio source says their talks are preliminary, but such a deal would make Sony the next studio after Paramount to start making movies belonging exclusively or almost exclusively to the streamer. So idea being like, all right, if you can get cash up front for a property to make movies for Netflix, and Netflix is definitely going to need content to make movies to compete with what Disney's about to do to them with Disney Plus and Disney Hulu and all their streaming channels. Now, Sony did recently sell off the Valiant Entertainment comic adaptation of Harbinger to Paramount. So that's a separate story. I'm going to include the link to this story, and I'll include the link to Paramount story as well. But this is not a big deal. The fact that they sold the Valiant comic adaptation to Paramount almost makes you think like, well, Harbinger wasn't a moneymaker anyway, so who would care to do a deal? The purpose of something like that is so that they can get, like, why do they need the Valiant titles at Sony if they've got Spider-Man and Venom and Morbius the Living Vampire, other Spider-Man derived products? There's a certain number of things in business, particularly entertainment business, that you can focus on and do great. So why would you split your energies between Marvel properties and, no offense to Valiant, but Valiant properties? They're very secondary. They've not proven themselves in theaters at all. With anything ever, and Spider-Man and the relationship with the larger Marvel universe and the relationship with all the other spin-off success properties. Venom is a huge successful property. So why would you want an off-brand like that? As an example, Rob Liefeld's Youngblood, there have been talks to turn that into a film and get that made, and that hasn't happened yet. And it's been several years. And Deadpool is successful, so the Cable character is successful. That also came out of the Deadpool universe. So why not? Why not do that? Something like Youngblood, because off-branded titles that were maybe a success in comics at some point, like a Valiant, like Youngblood, it doesn't necessarily sell itself. You gotta really make a special effort for those. So why work so hard for Valiant if you're Sony, if you've already got Marvel, right? So Sutton does know that Disney's not satisfied with reported 25% stake in the Spider-Man IP, and they want to own the property outright. Of course they want to own it outright. Of course they want to control Sony as much as they possibly can. Do you think that? What do you think? Put it in the comments below. And of course, make sure to subscribe to this channel. Click the bell for notifications. That's a big help to me. Do that. But let me know what you think. Do you think that Disney wants to own 100% of Spider-Man? I would think so. But tell me what you think. Do you think Sony should sell Spider-Man to Disney? Even if it's for $5 billion. And look what Sutton says here. It's still not enough. Yes, Disney will accept this and continue to renegotiate with Sony for future Spider-Man movies and appearances. And that's the whole thing. It's not like Disney is going to lose interest in Spider-Man. It's really like impossible to think that if Sony was to continue to keep their distance from and just do these joint ventures with Disney, that all of a sudden Disney would be like, forget it, we don't need Spider-Man. Like, no, Disney really needs Spider-Man on many, many, many levels. I don't know if the Sony people appreciate how badly and desperately they need Spider-Man to justify what they're about to do with the entire Marvel franchise or not. But my take is Sony would be nuts to sell for $4 billion or $5 billion. They would need something ridiculous that Disney can't pay, like effectively 10 or 20 billion for it to be worth it to Sony. Disney paid an extra 20 billion for Fox when they were outbid from 50 billion up to 70 billion to get a hold of the Fox Film Studio, which they were forced to because of bidding war. But in any case, could Disney potentially pay as much as $20 billion for Spider-Man? Yes and no. I mean, no, they couldn't do it outright, but yes, in future participation, there's ways to hide stuff in contracts where essentially, yeah, if Disney is willing to pay that sort of enormous amount of money, Sony would be able to transfer it. But I think that Disney ultimately does not want to have to compete with Spider-Man, because what they do in the new Marvel franchise is not going to be as good as what's being done in Spider-Man. It's just not, because of the direction they're taking all their MCU properties, all the social justice stuff. And they can't afford the competition. If Sony is foolish enough to sell them Spider-Man, although I would say it's not foolish if they could get 20 billion, just go nuts and take the money and, I don't know, buy a bunch of islands. If Sony's foolish enough to take the deal, Disney should pay it. But talking about not being foolish, check out my well thought out, really awesome, now available to ship immediately. Within 2 weeks, we have it at your door anywhere in the world, College of the Dead.
Hey, I'm Adam Post, creator of the College of the Dead graphic novel comic book series. Take a look at the printed prototype. This is what the book's going to look like. And we've got the 100-page ashcan book of College of the Dead. This shows how we made the book. It's got all the script and layouts. It's really, really educational, and it's really great behind-the-scenes stuff. And we have the art book, which is an 8.5 by 8.5 black and white book. It's all the art without any lettering. A really terrific book, too.
The way you can get College of the Dead is to go to collegeofthedead.com. It'll bring you right to the Indiegogo page where you can buy the book. You can check it out. You can see the first 12 pages, sequential art. I think you're going to love the story. I know you're going to like the comic. You will love it.
collegeofthedead.com.